You won't believe what happened when a billionaire, yes, a billionaire who also happens to be a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, challenged a struggling single dad and military veteran to a sparring match. No cameras. No crowd. Just mats, two men, and something neither of them expected. What started as a simple roll turned into something so powerful, so deeply human, that it left everyone watching absolutely stunned. But before we take you inside that moment, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because stories like this, they don't just entertain, they stay with you. Let's begin. There's a gym tucked into the corner of an aging strip mall in Austin, Texas. It doesn't look like much from the outside: faded signage, mismatched blinds, the faint smell of sweat and rubber drifting from behind the tinted glass. But inside, something was happening that day that no one could have predicted. Daniel Reyes was cleaning the mats when he heard the doorbell chime. He looked up, mop still in hand, and his heart skipped. In walked Marcus Vaughn. Yes, the Marcus Vaughn, the billionaire tech mogul who sold his first company at 26, made Forbes covers, and was known in martial arts circles as a lethal BJJ Black Belt. He trained quietly, no flashy Instagram posts, no interviews, just a man who loved the grind. And yet here he was, walking into a humble gym in South Austin like it was nothing. Daniel wiped his hands nervously. He wasn't just the janitor, he was also an assistant coach and a brown belt in BJJ. But more importantly, he was a father. A widowed father to a 6-year-old boy named Mason. After serving 2 tours overseas, Daniel had come back to a life that didn't wait for him. His wife had died in a car crash 6 months after his return, leaving him to raise Mason alone. The gym was the only place that gave him structure, the only place that didn't ask him to be okay when he wasn't. Marcus looked around the gym quietly and nodded. "Heard this place trains warriors," he said. Daniel chuckled. "We try." Marcus tilted his head. "You roll." Daniel hesitated. "A little." Marcus smiled. "You free to spar?" There it was. Just like that. A billionaire asking a janitor to roll. At first, Daniel thought it was a joke. Maybe some viral video stunt. But when Marcus took off his hoodie and stepped onto the mat in a black rash guard and GI pants, Daniel realized this was real. They slapped hands. Bumped fists. And then, they rolled. What happened next would stun not just the gym but everyone who would hear about it later. It wasn't just that Daniel held his own against a world-class black belt. It wasn't that he reversed a choke that Marcus had used in competition to dominate opponents. It wasn't even the fact that Marcus tapped after a clean armbar that Daniel executed with surgical precision. It was what came after. As they stood to shake hands again, Marcus looked Daniel dead in the eye. "Where'd you learn to move like that?" Daniel shrugged. "The army. Life. Pain." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "You fight like you've got something to protect." Daniel didn't say anything. He just nodded slowly. And that's when Mason ran in, barefoot, dragging a crayon-streaked coloring book behind him. "Dad. You said 5 minutes." Marcus looked at the boy, then back at Daniel. Something shifted in his expression. Not pity, respect. Later that evening, Marcus stayed behind. He watched as Daniel showed a group of young teens, some foster kids, others just lost souls, how to escape, mount and breathe through pressure. He didn't bark. He guided. Gentle, calm, present. Like someone who knew what real pressure felt like. After class, Marcus approached him again. "You ever think of opening your own gym?" he asked. Daniel laughed. "With what money? I barely afford diapers last year." Marcus was quiet for a moment, then said, "What if I invested?" Daniel blinked. "You don't even know me." "I know enough." "You don't train to win. You train to survive. And those kids need that more than they need another tournament champ." Daniel didn't say yes. He didn't say no. But 2 weeks later, a sign went up on the front of a new building. Valor Jiu-Jitsu, strength through struggle. Backed by Marcus. Run by Daniel. Open to veterans, single parents, troubled teens, anyone who needed a fight to find themselves again. The story of that spar went viral, not because a billionaire lost, but because of how he won hearts. In a world obsessed with dominance, he chose humility. In a world that glorifies wealth, he honored purpose. And in a world where strength often means isolation, he chose connection. Daniel never became rich. But the gym flourished. Mason grew up on those mats, watching his father teach others not how to fight, but how to live. Marcus kept showing up. Quietly. Rolling. Learning. Giving. And every time someone asked him why he sparred that day with a janitor, he'd say, because you don't measure a man by what he has. You measure him by what he gives, when he has nothing left.